If you take a look at your history, you can see that your species made very little progress towards advancing the knowledge and complexity in their society before the time that we introduced varieties of food that could be easily domesticated. Before the time we started helping, roughly 10,000 years ago, little progress was made. But looking at the last 10,000 years, you can see that, while progress was quicker in the years between 10,000 and 2,000 years ago, it was not the same as in the period from 2,000 years ago until the present. It can be said that humanity was slowly getting used to society, to advancements, and that this progress just takes time. The reality behind the scenes was far different. We had gone into this, expecting a roughly 2,000-year trial program, where we build your society from nothing to an advanced one. The reality of the whack-a-mole-like progress that we were actually making was far different than what we had wanted. The greed, violence, and superstitions of the people made us have to redo the same progress over and over again, in different lands, with different peoples. The following are some very short abbreviated scenes of our interactions with your world in the 10,000 to 2,000 year ago time frame. We had gotten better with working with this craziness, but if we had not changed tactics, the world literally would not have evolved into the one we know now. The Garden of Eden, many years ago.
Wait. How are we in the Garden of Eden? It never existed, except in simulated environments created much later, for the benefit of students. The whole Adam and Eve story was a part of a lot of things that had been made up over the years, from a combination of old religions made up by differing peoples. Histories handed down from mouth to mouth and changed over many generations, elements intentionally put there by scheming rulers, and some things we put there for their edification. I do not really feel that the whole story is as fair and helpful to women as it could be. It gives too many excuses that can keep us in a more subservient role, rather than equals.
Well, yes, that is true, but we do teach from what they already know, then introduce what they do not, as they can handle it. Much of the history that they know is somewhere between propaganda, twisted to favor one agenda or another, to downright lies, told either by their own leaders to keep them in line, or by us, to keep their leaders in line.
Yes, I do see your point. There will be plenty of time to show them what they have done on their own, to take advantage of each other. They do get involved deeply in the story of the God that created all things, and in the holy prophets that have guided them these many years. The Bible and surrounding religions have been immensely helpful to humanity. People think prophets say exactly what is from God and do not or much. Your churches want you to think that, so that they can slip in doctrine or ideas of their own, so that people will believe those lies also. Prophets often encourage this as well, so they are trusted more. It even helps you as well, if you believe deeply in that story. But to be very honest, yes, prophets and religion are often wrong, as are most things including science. Even we can be wrong on an extremely rare occasion.
The unhealthy thing in the very long run is that you get too used to accepting what you are told. You do not confront your own biases enough to ensure we are all on the right track. And as nice and positive as these cartoons are, there are many who in our society still want to rule over others without giving anyone else a fair say, or have science, research, or anything truly objective threaten their way of running things. We were founded with science and its methods, yet we have just as deep of a history of kings, and of a myriad of unhealthy ways that we use to get our way, rather than try to step back and see what is best for all. We are still dealing with these problems in real life here. It takes a very long time to see it, since it is very well hidden, but it is there, and it threatens all of us. But enough about that for now, back to the topic at hand.
The truth is, that the teachings of religion are more of value to get you to believe and engage in them, rather than their objective percentage of truth they contain. Yes, prophets or sacred books are adjusted as well, by other church and society members as needed also. Somewhat contradictory or purposefully vague passages are used, for whatever intent the powerful or influential want. But all in all, religion as it is now, spreads values and organization to the society, far better than if we had left the many pagan religions in place. Atheists often have an idealized view of what the world would be like without religion. Well, it would be no better, and quite certainly worse, because religion is not the root of the problem. The genome and the desires of the powerful are. Religion is just one tool that is used to further that agenda. If it were not religion, it would be something else. But realistically, it would be some religion or cult. It is better that we try to insert as much good as we can, where we can.
And so we did insert as many truths as we could, into the story you know now. While there was not an Adam per se, or a Noah, there was a Moses, and we did speak with him. We spoke with a great many over the years, in a number of lands. We did not give blood sacrifices, either human or animal, nor did we give the idea to have many wives, as kings of old often did. We forbade human sacrifice, and did eventually reduce the amount of animal sacrifice in major religions. We will not go into more specifics now though. One of the rules we have here, is that we will never hand you knowledge there, if it is freely available for you to get already with some effort. You need to study first. So this series is only going to provide just enough information in this time period, to give a framework sufficient to get you a good idea of what is more or less accurate, in the vast amount of other resources you have now available to you. Going on to more of your history, we now jump to ancient Egypt, many years ago. In those days, we did not have enough students to fill everybody down here. So, there were some bots that were essentially just natural humans with no soul, or rather no student's consciousness controlling the body. The bots that did not have the consciousness from anyone on our side, had no connection to our society, and had no place with us after their life was over. In other words, when they died, that was it. There was no afterlife for them. They literally just ceased to exist at that point. This was not done out of cruelty, but out of practicality. Giving anyone the power we have, but without the deep connections to family and society that we have, is dangerous. It also takes hundreds of years to properly train someone. No one of us has that kind of time, and even if we did, those that had not made it from the time after the leap would be first in line for revival, not some random species that we have very little connection to. So out of all the people back then, it was actually the leaders that would have been most likely to be bots. It might seem nice to students to be a king, and enslave everyone else, but as parents, that lifestyle makes it really hard to properly train your children in. Most of the pharaohs back then were bots. The ones that built the pyramids certainly were. The workers and lower members of the society, were our children, had souls, and had the eternal life that came with that. No one was willing to send a kid to be a pharaoh back then, so we just had to deal with human bots.
Hi there, Pharaoh. How is everything going in your kingdom?
Why ask, if you already know? I think you have eyes everywhere, and know all of what I am up to. I do not like this, but am willing to tolerate your presence, if it benefits me.
Our help has been a great benefit to you and your people. We have advised on farming techniques, on trade, on technology, and to help make your kingdom wealthy over these years. We have advised on helping with your pyramids as well, and to only ask that you treat your subjects with dignity and good fortune. We see, though, that you are once again, being very cruel to some of your subjects. This is not acceptable to us. We will need you to change that. In return, we have another massive project that you might like.
Massive project like what? Like the last pyramids that you said you would help with, but left us to do almost everything. I do not accept the quality of those for this next project. I am not just a king, I am deity. I come from the gods, I was placed here by them, and my pyramid needs to be flawless and massive. It will ensure my smooth transition to the afterlife where I will go after my death here. The pyramid must stand for an eternity, since my afterlife will be for an eternity among the gods.
Pharaoh, we have discussed this. Your gods are imaginary, and you will die permanently after your death, if you choose not to accept our offer to join our society. You will quite literally be dust after you die. Instead, we have an equal society where all members grow to have the same voice and power as everyone else. We have peace, equality, and a 100% real afterlife where you can learn and grow with us forever. You just have to accept our offer in the conditions of peace and equality. But either way, we will help make sure that your pyramid will be massive, beautiful, and it will be the work of quality that will be a marvel for millennia to come. We will just need you to treat your workers better. The technology and help we give is not just for you, but for all people. All of society must have more knowledge and freedoms if they are to grow, to be an advanced free society like ours. Our conditions are firm. The knowledge that we get to the lower classes will help them eventually be more equal, and live better lives.
You are so full of yourselves. I can see through your lies. I was placed here by my gods. I'm already dirty, and you would have me lower myself to be common like you are. You do not want freedom for the lower classes, you want to steal them for yourself. They are my personal property. They belong to me, and will be my slaves forever. I was born to rule and own them. It is my proper place, and you will not tell me or the gods what to do. But I will treat the workers well who built this pyramid. You have my word. I do not need your lies about being your slave for an eternity. My pyramid will give me eternal life with my gods. Where are we going to put this one?
There is a location right by your great sphinx that would be perfect for some pyramids to go. Ultimately a group of 3 would be a very sacred number that should work for your needs.
Yes. That sounds good. There are some more details to work out, but we can start on my massive pyramid as soon as possible then.
The pyramids on your world never had been used as anything but a place for the Pharaoh's imaginary gods and religious rites. But with the atom-sharing technology that we have, we cloned them and put them to use as functional tourist attractions. Some of the ones we have are even used still to produce power. Granted, they work as more of a novelty, but they are interesting, and remind some here of the time they spent in their mortal life on your earth. While the white limestone covering is gone on yours, our copies are still perfectly preserved in pristine condition. Better than they ever were on your world. As for the Pharaoh and his gods, he is dust now, just as we warned him, and his gods are just as imaginary now, as they were then. Also, just in case any of you wonder, or are worried about bots that do not have a soul, we now in your time have a lot more kids. Almost every single person in your world has a soul now. You are all our children. The only very small exceptions are some of the few of the extremely rich and powerful, who are the worst of the worst. The ones that are behind the schemes to kill and enslave all of you, are the ones that might or might not be bots. We even now have problems filling all of those spots, so there are some of them who will end with death. They will not go to hell. They will just not exist after their death. This is not all of them, but only some of the worst. As for you, no matter your race, country, poverty level, or education, all other spots are full now, and everyone else does absolutely have a soul. All will have life after death, and will eventually get to see more of the real history than these videos can show. Please stay tuned for more things to come in future videos.